How are you doing being sheltered in place at home? Is it getting a little old yet? As I've been hanging out at home more than usual, I've been thinking a lot about my parents and some of the things they've been through in their lifetime. You know, my dad was a young sailor during World War II out on the submarines, and my mom was a young war bride at home with her firstborn, my brother Mark. And I remember my mom and how she would tell me, and her voice would break when she would explain the line, "They also serve who only stand and wait." And my mom told me also about blackouts, and I remember she hummed a song, "When the lights go on again all over the world." You see, back during World War II, in those coastal cities where my mom lived in New England, they were mandated to have their lights out in the evening because they didn't want any light leaking that would direct the enemy aircraft to illuminate some of those boats out in the water. And so they had to be there in the dark every evening, blackout curtains on the windows. You know, I think about that now. Here I'm quarantined, but I can get outside. I can go walk around my neighborhood a little bit. But can you imagine being there in the dark and just praying for someone you love to come home alive, and being home with your baby in the dark in the evenings? But you know, it gives me strength to think about my parents during those times because they were so positive and so faith-filled. And it means a lot to me to think about that. You know, when I was young, we didn't have a lot of money. When my dad learned about the seventh-day Sabbath, he was committed to not work on the seventh day. And for him, that meant starting a little business. The only one working for him at first was my grandpa, and he didn't get paid. And so we didn't have much when we were kids. At Christmas time, we had a few little presents, and they were wrapped in newspaper. But as my dad's business grew, things got a lot easier for our family. In the end, he had 35 people working for him, so those Christmases became a little more lavish. But you know, when I think back on my childhood, I don't think of any kind of a difference of when we had money or didn't have money. It didn't matter. It's the same happy memories I have, whether we had things or didn't have things. You know, when my dad finally decided to retire, he sold that business and he was ready to finally kick back a little bit. He was such a hard worker. He had a machine shop, and that was hard work. And he sold the business and was swindled, to put it mildly. There was a messy court case, and Dad never got his money out of that business. But you know what? He went on. He went on. And in his 60s, he and my mother started a second business. They didn't have much money once again. They were in a factory in an old building where they started up, just the two of them. No heat, toilets froze over in the wintertime, and they kept at it until that second business did better than the first. Then he sold the second business. It was the day before 9/11, the day before the planes went into the Twin Towers. Due to those economic conditions, my dad lost everything from the second business. But you know what? He moved into an apartment and he kept his faith-filled, optimistic life. They bought an RV. They were so excited. They were going to be snowbirds in Florida. Hurricane Charlie came through that year and picked up that RV and threw it on its side. It's unbelievable when I think about it now. But the legacy my parents gave me was hope and optimism and faith. At the end of his life, my sister asked my dad if he had any regrets, and he said, "I have no regrets." He said, "The Lord blessed me so much throughout my life." I think about that often during these times of quarantine, and it gives me faith and hope and courage. I want to encourage you today to think about the people and places that ground you with faith and strength. During these challenging times, hold on to the memories and the love that will sustain you.